All right, now this is an ET Now news break and it has been confirmed. The aadmi, the common man, likely to get some respite from the burden of high edible oil prices. Sources are telling us here on ET Now that the central government has asked edible oil producers to reduce prices in the retail market, and they have to do it within a week's time. The government is looking at reducing prices by 10 to 15%, and this, of course, could in turn bring down prices by as much as 20 rupees a litre. This is happening as palm oil prices have continued to slip. Malaysian palm oil is down over 40% in its price over a month's time. And the repercussions of this have been seen in most FMCG companies. They're quite upbeat in trade. Look at the way some of these companies have been performing as far as trading action goes, like HUL. But the companies have come out with their first quarter updates in which they see inflation denting demand. So can this really change the scenario, as it were, for some of these FMCG companies? Let's get perspective on this, on what we are likely to see with edible oil prices now coming down. For that, Shankar Thakkar is Edible Oil Traders Association. He's joining us on India Development Debate with Shirish Pardeshi. He's a Senior Analyst FMCG at Centrum Broking. Great to have you with us. And thanks for making the time for speaking to us here tonight. We're looking at all the changes that are happening as far as palm oil prices go. And we're watching how the price movement has been in a rather short span of time. Shankar Thakkar, I want to ask you about palm oil prices. They're currently trading near their 6-month lows, and this is because of the high inventory we've seen in the Indonesian market. And key consumers like India and Pakistan, they're delaying imports of palm oil. So are these, according to you, the prime reasons why palm oil prices are falling? And do you believe that the kind of fall we've seen in recent times is going to sustain?
देखिए, नमस्कार सभी को। पहले पाम ऑयल के प्राइस जो कम हो रहे हैं, इसके पीछे की बड़ी वजह यह है कि इंडोनेशिया ने पीछे जो प्रतिबंध लगाया था पाम ऑयल के एक्सपोर्ट पर, वो उन्होंने प्रतिबंध लगाने से वहां पे जो प्रोडक्शन था वो तो लगातार जारी था, और उनके पास स्टोरेज टैंक की कैपेसिटी कम है। उनकी जो इकोनॉमी है वो भी पूरी की पूरी पाम ऑयल के इर्द गिर्द घूमती है, और ऐसे में उन्होंने प्रतिबंध लगाया। तो उनको अभी जब उन्होंने प्रतिबंध हटाया तो उनको जल्द से जल्द मलेशिया की कंपटीशन में पाम ऑयल को एक्सपोर्ट करने की बड़ी चिंता लगी हुई है। इसके लिए वो लगातार नए नए कदम उसके पीछे उठाती जा रही है, और ये सबसे बड़ा रीजन है कि पाम ऑयल के दाम इंडोनेशिया और मलेशिया के दोनों के जो आपसी वॉर की वजह से कम हो रहे हैं। और दूसरा रीजन जो है वो इंटरनेशनल मार्केट में अभी सनफ्लावर ऑयल की जो उपलब्धता कम थी जो वॉर की वजह से, उसमें भी काफी अच्छी कमी हुई है और इंपोर्ट फिर से शुरू हो गया है। ये दोनों रीजन की वजह से बाजारें कम हुई है इंटरनेशनल, और उसी की वजह से भारत में भी दाम कम हुए। लेकिन जो भारत के उपभोक्ता ग्राहकों को अभी तक उसका पूरा जो बेनिफिट मिलना चाहिए वो नहीं मिल रहा है। उसके रीजन ये है कि यहाँ पे जो लोगों ने ऊपर के दामों की खरीदी की है वो अभी तक बाजारों में खुदरा व्यापारियों के पास पड़ी हुई है। इसके लिए ज्यादा नुकसानी न करते हुए व्यापारी संभल के उसको माल को बेच रहे हैं। तो आने वाले दिनों में ये 10-15 दिनों में दाम भारत के अंदर भी उपभोक्ताओं को कम दामों में माल उपलब्ध होगा।
तो आगे जाके आपको लगता है कि ये जो प्राइसेस की गिरावट है वो होते रहेगी?
बिल्कुल, मेरा मानना है आने वाले 2 महीने में इंटरनेशनल मार्केट में और भी गिरावट होगी। हमारे देश में मॉनसून काफी अच्छी तरह फैल गया है और यहाँ पे भी प्रोडक्शन अच्छा होगा। ऐसे अभी जो हाल दिख रहे हैं प्रोडक्शन के, उसके नजर से ऐसा लग रहा है कि आने वाले 2 महीने और भी दाम कम होने की संभावनाएं बड़ी है।
I want to take this across to Shirish Pardeshi, who of course is with Centrum Broking, and he analyzes the FMCG universe. What could be the likely impact, Mr. Pardeshi? When you look at crude palm oil, it's one of the key raw materials for companies within the FMCG universe, Hindustan Unilever being one of them, and we've seen how the market seemed to be quite enthused by the prospects. Do you see this continuous decline in palm oil prices having a positive impact on margins of many of these FMCG companies, and how much of an impact do you see?
Yeah, thanks, Vikram, having me on the show. Exactly a month before you hosted me, and my view was same. I think what Shankarji has said, I completely agree with you that Indonesia and Malaysia don't have a storage capacity, and I think the prices are now pushing downwards. It's a good news. So FMCG companies will get benefited on the two prong. The first is that food is an important aspect in the Indian palate in terms of consumption. And to my sense, about 60 odd percent, it's the Indians use as a food category, which is spent in terms of your output. While the cooking oil medium is largely 50% is edible oil, which is used as palm oil by Indians. And I think this price erosion is actually bring some savings, some respite for the end consumer. So from the consumption perspective, I think that's a good news for the consumer. I would expect that this prices should fall as quickly as possible. However, having said that, for the consumer companies, also palm oil, or what we call it as a vegetable oil and its derivative, is also one of the key ingredient in manufacturing of a lot of products, especially soaps and the other related products. So I think this fall in from 40% from the top of the crude palm oil prices, I think it's a good news. However, one has to keep in mind that most of the companies has been running tighter supply chain, and when the prices move out of the control, I think they were working on a very tight control on the import of crude palm oil and its derivative. So the good news is that if the prices fall, may not be quarter one will be beneficiary for all these companies, but definitely starting from August, September, you will see the benefit of this price erosion which has happened in the end prices. The important factor here to note is that though this is also have the impact when the import prices are there, your rupee dollar depreciation, which is also higher. So if the prices fall, that will have a positive impact on the companies. To per se quantify this impact, I think most of the companies which has this palm oil and its derivative consumption, they would definitely have, they will see a margin expansion in the range of about 80 to 100 basis point.
So, would you think, Mr. Pardeshi, that they will wait for further reduction in palm oil prices before they pass on the benefit to consumers, before we actually see the prices of everyday items like soaps and biscuits and noodles actually come down?
It's very difficult to say. As Shankarji has pointed out, there are three ways to look at it. One is that you already have procured the raw material inventory. Second, you have work in progress. So you have a finished good inventory, which is there with the companies. And third, already you have passed on this higher price finished goods in the trade. So if the prices are dropped, I think that will be a very, very confusing situation from the company to the retailers, because at the end, dropping prices is in the benefit of the consumer, but what will happen to the trade inventory? So I think it is all calibrated measures which all companies will take. And maybe if the benefits are larger than 10 to 15%, and when you look at from the inflation perspective, definitely that will get passed on by either giving a promotions or discount to the end consumers.
मिस्टर ठक्कर, जो हम यूजेज की बात करते हैं पाम ऑयल की, सबसे ज़्यादा हमने देखा हुआ है कि ये ऐसी प्रोडक्ट्स जैसे साबुन हो, जैसे बिस्किट्स हो, नूडल्स हो, इनमें ज़्यादा करके इनका इस्तेमाल होता है. आगे जाके अगर ये प्राइसेस की गिरावट होती रही, आपको कौन से सेक्टर्स लग रहे हैं जहां इसके फ़ायदे कंज्यूमर्स को सबसे ज़्यादा पहले मिलेंगे?
कंज्यूमर को देखिए, सबसे पहला फायदा तो डायरेक्ट जो ऑयल कंज्यूमर बाय करता है उसमें सबसे पहला फायदा मिल सकता है, क्योंकि दाम जो गिरते हैं उसका सीधा संबंध तो ऑयल से आता है, तो ऑयल सबसे पहले गिरता है. और उसके जो बाय प्रोडक्ट है इसके बाद में, उसमें तो काफी सारे प्रोडक्ट है, जिसमें सॉप से लेकर कई ऐसे प्रोडक्ट है जो, लेकिन उसमें समय लगेगा, क्योंकि जो लोगों के पास अभी इन्वेंट्री पड़ी हुई है पुराने रेट की, वो क्लियर हो जाने के बाद ही वो दाम कम करेंगे, तो उसके लिए थोड़ा समय लगेगा. तो आने वाले 1.5 मंथ में वो मुझे लगता है कि अगर मार्केट, इंटरनेशनल मार्केट यही इस पे चलती रही और डाउनवर्ड चलती रही, तो कहीं ना कहीं उपभोक्ताओं का इसको बेनिफिट पूरा का पूरा मिलेगा.
Mr. Pardeshi, how much of a possibility do you see as far as the current situation is concerned, as far as the key markets go? Because you're looking at Malaysia and Indonesia, they benefit Indian companies and consumers for the competitiveness that they have between them in providing palm oil to countries here in South Asia. Have we historically gained in India from these competitive exports from these countries, or are the ground realities different this time? In what is a pandemic-ridden world, there is an imminent global slowdown that is taking place. So I want to understand from you, what do you think is prompting it? Is it the competition between these two countries? Why are we getting it at lower prices when everywhere across the world we are seeing most of the commodities actually going up and costing more, and input costs for most companies are going higher?
Historically, if you see the trend, there is no direct correlation between the crude oil and crude palm oil. But if the crude palm oil rises faster at some lag effect, which will definitely happen with the crude palm oil. Now, the situation what we have painted in front of us is that Indonesia and Malaysia is competing against each other. But we have to keep a fact in front of us that both these countries produce 2/3 of requirement of the world palm oil. And as rightly said in the beginning, and also Mr. Shankarji has also said that these two countries don't have a capacity to store, because when you produce palm, it is a continuous production. You can't just keep it and store it. And because of this difficulty, I think they want to evacuate the things which is as faster. The other part also, which is also important, that you'll have to see the currency depreciation and appreciation. I think the dollar is consistently rising across all countries' currencies. And I think people would like to want to take the benefit of that. The third fact which is there is that the developing countries is always been a net importer for palm oil. And if that palm oil consumption, and if the consumption is falling because of the price increases, I think definitely that is not healthy for these two countries, because if the demand is getting crushed, who will buy from them? And I think these are the three key reasons comes to my mind, that definitely these countries would have taken some cognizance of the fact on ground. And maybe in the short term, the supply and demand mismatch might have pushed the prices upward. But I think it works both ways.
मिस्टर ठक्कर, जाते जाते मुझे आपसे ये भी पूछना है कि पाम ऑयल तो एक तरह का ऑयल हुआ, काफ़ी और एडिबल ऑयल्स है और उनमें भी काफ़ी राइवलरी है. पाम ऑयल में हम ये प्राइस गिरावट देख रहे हैं, बाकी के ऑयल्स में आप ये लाइकलीहुड है कि मतलब उनके भी प्राइसेस कम होंगे?
बिल्कुल कम. जो पाम ऑयल है वो सबसे बड़ा स्टेक है उसका, हमारे इंडिया के कंजप्शन के हिसाब से हम देखने जाए तो बाकी ऑयल उसके साथ साथ ही मूव होते हैं. जैसे उसका सोयाबीन है, सनफ्लावर है, या हमारे जो देसी प्रोडक्ट है जिसमें आप ग्राउंड नट से और राइस ब्रान ऑयल, ये सारे जैसे मार्केट में पाम ऑयल के दाम कम होते हैं या बढ़ते हैं, उसके साथ ही ये मूव होते हैं. तो 100% ये बाकी के जितने भी ऑयल सारे हैं वो इसके साथ साथ कम होंगे, इसमें कोई डाउट नहीं है. और वैसे भी रसिया से और अदर कंट्री से सनफ्लावर की इंपोर्ट स्टार्ट हो चुकी है, तो वो भी एक प्रेशर इसके ऊपर क्रिएट कर रहा है दामों के ऊपर. इसके अलावा हमारी गवर्नमेंट ने जो अभी 20 लाख टन और 20 लाख टन दोनों क्रूड और सोयाबीन और सनफ्लावर की इंपोर्ट की जो अनुमति दी है, उससे भी प्रेशर काफी बना हुआ है वो दोनों तेल के ऊपर. यानी ओवरऑल सारे तेल एक साथ कम होने के आसार दिख रहे हैं.
Shankar Thakkar from the Edible Oil Traders Association, and Shirish Pardeshi, Senior Analyst at Centrum Broking, who looks after the FMCG universe. Thank you both, gentlemen, for joining us, helping us understand how these prices of palm oil are likely to impact the economy. We live in inflationary times, so when we talk about a drop in prices, that's all too welcome in the kind of strife that we currently live in, because price rise is a major concern, and we're talking about and like Mr. Pardeshi mentioned, you're talking about the rupee-dollar equation, and that could turn out to be in our favor with the fall in edible oils, and especially when we're talking about palm oil, that has a resonance across a lot of FMCG companies. So we'll continue to track that universe and the way the prices move.